You've seen cars before, haven't you? They pass by every day, loud, quiet, fancy, broken. Nothing more than metal boxes on wheels. But not this one. This one isn't just another machine rolling down the street. No, this one carries weight, a presence, the kind that makes your chest tighten before you even know why. It doesn't honk. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It whispers with silence, and that silence shakes you. Not every arrival is ordinary, though most people convince themselves it is. They see things moving, coming, going, fading, and they nod, shrug, continue with their dull routines, convincing themselves the world is predictable, controllable, tame. But sometimes something comes that bends the air around it. That makes time feel slower, heavier, almost unbearable. You try to tell yourself it's just another moment, another arrival. Nothing to fear, nothing to notice. But deep down, in the marrow of your bones, you feel it. This is not ordinary. This is not just another passing shadow. This is the kind of arrival that doesn't knock politely at your door. It crashes into your reality and demands attention. You think you're in control, don't you? You think you can anticipate what's coming, prepare for it, manage it. But some arrivals laugh at your plans. They mock your preparation. They come like thunder in a clear sky, without a warning, without a reason you can grasp. And you realize then that ordinary arrivals are just camouflage, distractions to lull you into a false sense of security. Because when the extraordinary arrives, it doesn't look like what you expect. It doesn't dress itself in flashing lights or grand announcements. No, it cloaks itself in something deceptively simple. A black car, a silent step, a door opening at the wrong hour. Something so ordinary that it would almost slip past you, until it doesn't. And that's the trap. Ordinary arrivals lull you. Extraordinary ones strike you. They blur the line between coincidence and destiny, until you're left questioning whether what just happened was random at all. You feel the pull of inevitability, like strings wrapped around your chest, tugging you forward whether you want to move or not. And suddenly, it's not just about the arrival, it's about what it brings with it. News, change, revelation, maybe even judgment. Something that makes your skin prickle, your pulse race. Because you know it's not leaving you the same as before. You've probably tried to explain away moments like this in the past. It's nothing. Just a coincidence. That's what you tell yourself to calm your nerves, to keep from facing the truth. But your body knows better. That chill in your spine knows better. That tightening in your gut knows better. And you stand there, watching something approach, pretending it's just another moment, while everything in you screams that it's not. That this one matters. That this one changes the script. That this one won't let you walk away untouched. The irony. Ordinary arrivals never test you. They never shake you. They never rip open your comfort and expose what's been hiding underneath. That's why people cling to them. They're safe, predictable, harmless. But chosen ones, the rare few, don't get to live in that safety. They don't get ordinary. They get arrivals that burn holes through their illusions and force them to face what's real. They get the kind of moments that demand a choice, either rise to it or run from it. And once it arrives, you can't unsee it. You can't rewind it. You can't send it back. The black car isn't just a vehicle, it's a symbol, a messenger. A silent declaration that what you thought was ordinary is now extraordinary. That what you thought was random is now targeted. That what you thought was coincidence has turned into inevitability. And whether you're ready or not, it's here. It doesn't matter if your heart races, if your hands shake, if your mind begs for another chance to prepare. Arrivals like this don't care about your excuses. They show up anyway. They always do. Silence is the strangest sound in the world. Most people don't realize it because they fill their days with chatter, noise, distractions, and the constant hum of life. They think silence is peace, a moment of calm, a pause in the storm. But that's a lie. Real silence is never calm. It's heavy, suffocating, alive. It creeps into a room and presses down on you until you can feel your heartbeat echoing louder than it should, until your own breath feels like it's betraying you. And when something is coming wrapped in silence, you know it's not harmless. You know it's carrying something too serious, too sharp, too dangerous for words. Noise warns you, prepares you, gives you something to react against. But silence doesn't give you that luxury. Silence doesn't announce itself. It slips in unnoticed, waits, lingers. And then suddenly, you realize it's everywhere. That's when the panic starts. Because if you can't hear it, you don't know where it is or what it's about to do. Silence is the mask of inevitability. And when it covers something's face, you know it's close, closer than you want it to be. Think about it. A black car screeches and roars. You expect it, you brace for it. But a black car arriving without a sound, that's different. That's not coincidence. That's intention. That's precision. It wants you to feel the weight of its presence without being able to predict it. And that silence says more than noise ever could. It says you're not the one in control. It says something has been decided long before you noticed. It says the moment you've been waiting for, or the moment you've been fearing, is finally here, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You see, noise is for the crowd. It's for show. It distracts, entertains, draws attention. Silence, though. Silence is personal. Silence is direct. Silence doesn't care about the crowd. It's aimed at you. And when you're standing there, with the silence stretching out like a shadow, you realize it doesn't need to explain itself. The very absence of sound becomes the message. It's saying, pay attention. It's saying something is about to happen. It's saying, brace yourself. And you feel it deep in your chest, long before anything visible confirms it. The truth is, people hate silence because it forces them to listen. To themselves, to their fears, to the thoughts they bury under distraction. But chosen ones, the rare few who are awake enough, know that silence is never empty. Silence is a sign. It's the warning before the crash, the inhale before the scream, the pause before the strike. It's the space where fate reveals itself, slowly, deliberately, without wasting words. And when silence surrounds an arrival, it's not random, it's deliberate. So when you feel that silence pressing down on you, don't be fooled into thinking it's nothing. Don't brush it off like it's coincidence. That silence is speaking louder than any siren could. It's telling you that the ordinary moment has ended, that something significant has entered your world. And if you ignore it, if you treat it like background noise, you'll miss the message. You'll stand unprepared when the door opens, when the figure steps out, when the truth finally arrives. Silence is not absence. Silence is presence. A presence so strong, it doesn't need to shout to be noticed. And when it comes with an arrival meant for you, it's not just silence. It's destiny whispering in your ear, making sure you hear it in the only way that matters. Through the weight pressing down on your chest, through the shiver crawling across your skin, through the undeniable knowing that whatever comes next is bigger than you, and it cannot be ignored. Black has always been more than a color. People like to dress it up, make it stylish, call it elegant, mysterious, powerful. They drape themselves in it, thinking they're in control of the image it projects. But black isn't about fashion or taste. It's about depth. It's about what lies beneath, the unseen, the unspoken, the shadow that doesn't need to explain itself. And when something arrives wrapped in black, it's not just showing up, it's carrying a message. A message that what you're about to face isn't ordinary, it's serious, it's unknown, it's inevitable. You see, colors speak louder than words. Red screams danger. Green whispers go, white pretends purity. But black says nothing. And in that nothingness, you hear everything. It doesn't warn, it doesn't comfort, it doesn't guide. It swallows, it consumes, it waits. When you see it rolling toward you, you don't think about beauty or elegance. You think about endings, about secrets, about truths too heavy for daylight. That's why the black car rattles you before you even know what's inside. It doesn't need to move fast or make a sound. Its presence alone is enough to stir the fear, the wonder, the curiosity you try to bury. And isn't that the point? Black hides and reveals at the same time. It conceals what you think you want to see, but it also forces you to imagine what could be inside, what could be waiting. Your mind fills the silence with possibilities, most of them darker than reality, but that's how black works. It doesn't show, it makes you see. And what you see depends on what's buried in you. If you're guilty, you see judgment. If you're hopeful, you see salvation. If you're lost, you see direction. But make no mistake, whatever you see, you feel the weight of inevitability behind it. The arrival of something black is never casual. It doesn't just happen. It's chosen, deliberate. A black car isn't about convenience, it's about symbolism. It tells you without words that this isn't a moment to laugh off, isn't something you'll forget tomorrow. Black is the language of the serious, the grave, the final. And when it stops in front of you, it's as if the universe itself is saying, pay attention. You've reached a point that matters. What's strange is how people react. Some look away, pretend it's nothing. They cling to the idea that black is just another shade, another detail. They fool themselves, because admitting otherwise means facing the fact that something has come for them, and they aren't ready. Others stare too long, transfixed, paralyzed by the weight of what they think it means. And then there are the rare few, the chosen ones, who don't turn away, don't freeze. They see the black. They feel the unknown pressing in, and they step forward anyway. That's what separates them. Not that they're fearless, but that they understand fear doesn't change inevitability. Because black doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't care if your hands are steady or your heart is racing. Black arrives on its own terms. And when it does, you realize something important. You're not in control of the arrival, but you are in control of how you face it. Do you shrink back into excuses? Or do you step into the unknown with the awareness that it was always meant for you? Black is the color of the serious, the final, the irreversible. It marks the moment when games stop, when illusions burn away, when truth takes center stage. And when it arrives for you, it doesn't matter how much you wanted to avoid it. It doesn't matter how much you prayed for it to pass you by. It's here, and its presence demands that you recognize it for what it is, not coincidence, not chance, but a moment carved out of inevitability, designed to strip you of denial and force you to face what's waiting in the shadows. The car itself isn't just a machine, isn't just steel, glass, and rubber dragged across the pavement. No, it's a symbol, a vessel carrying something bigger than itself. People see vehicles come and go every day, but not all of them arrive for a reason. Some are random, meaningless, background noise in a life already drowning in distractions. But when a black car pulls up in silence, with intent dripping off its every movement, you know immediately, this isn't coincidence. This is inevitability taking form. This is destiny disguised as something ordinary, making its entrance without asking for permission. You tell yourself it's just a car. That's the lie you cling to because it's easier than admitting it's here for you. Easier than admitting that it represents something you can't run from. You notice the way it moves, deliberate, steady, without the chaos of rushing. It doesn't need to hurry because inevitability never does. And in that moment, you realize it isn't a visitor, it's a messenger. And messengers don't come without reason. The ordinary man looks away, buries his head in his distractions, pretends the arrival means nothing. That's how most survive, by convincing themselves that nothing has meaning, that everything is random, that destiny doesn't exist. But the chosen one doesn't get that luxury. You feel the weight in your chest, the undeniable pull of something designed for you. The black car isn't anyone's. It's yours. Its arrival isn't chance. It's a calling, and ignoring it only delays the truth pressing in from all sides. The presence of inevitability is terrifying because it robs you of illusions. You can't negotiate with it, can't plead with it, can't pretend it will pass you by. It's already been written. The car is just the physical reminder, the shadow cast by something far bigger. You can feel it before it arrives, can sense it before you see it, and when it finally appears, the air itself thickens. Suddenly, everything that felt solid, the ground, the noise, the people around you, fades into background. All that's left is you, the car, and what it represents. And that's the thing. Inevitability doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need explosions, chaos, theatrics. Its silence is its weapon. Because silence gives you nowhere to hide, no distraction to cling to. It forces you to confront the truth in front of you. The car pulls up, the engine hums low, and every excuse you've used to avoid reality collapses. You can't call it coincidence anymore. You can't say it wasn't meant for you. It's here, and it's staring you down. Some will break under that weight, convinced it's doom, convinced the arrival means nothing but endings. But that's because they see inevitability as punishment instead of recognition. The chosen one understands it differently. To be chosen is to be confronted. To be chosen is to face what others will never be asked to. The car doesn't arrive for the crowd. It arrives for you. And though fear claws at your throat, though your pulse hammers in your ears, deep inside you know the truth. This is not random. It never was. You can delay. You can deny. You can run. But inevitability doesn't chase. It doesn't need to. It waits. And when it arrives, it doesn't ask for your agreement. It doesn't care if you're trembling or ready. It simply unfolds. The black car, the symbol of inevitability, is proof that destiny doesn't require your permission. It shows up anyway. It shows up because it was always going to. And when it does, everything you thought you controlled falls apart, leaving you face to face with the truth you tried so hard to avoid. What arrives for you is meant only for you, and that's what makes it both terrifying and beautiful. People think fate comes in general packages, shared moments, collective experiences, something everyone can touch, but that's not how it works. Fate is precise, sharp, deliberate. It carves through the crowd and locks its eyes on one. And when it arrives, it doesn't care about the noise around you. Doesn't care about the 1,000 others pretending to live their lives. It comes straight to your doorstep. The black car doesn't show up for the city. It doesn't show up for the block. It shows up for you. That's why your chest tightens when you see it. Why your breath shortens. Because deep down you know it's not random. It's yours. And here's the thing. Most people don't want that. They love the comfort of blending in, of believing the universe has bigger things to worry about than their small lives. They pray to be overlooked, unnoticed, invisible. Because when something arrives just for you, it demands something of you. It tears away your excuses, your comfort, your distractions, and puts you under a spotlight you never asked for. The car is more than steel and glass. It's recognition. It's the universe whispering, I see you. Now what are you going to do about it? It's easy to pretend you're not chosen when nothing arrives. It's easy to tell yourself life is just survival, just routine, just random. But the moment something comes for you, you lose the ability to lie to yourself. You feel it in your bones that this isn't shared, it isn't collective, it isn't optional, it's personal. The black car becomes a mirror, reflecting back the truth you've buried, that you are meant for more, and that more is never painless. Some will call it coincidence, because that's safer. They'll say, it could have been anyone. It's nothing. That's the language of the unchosen, the ones too afraid to admit when destiny brushes against them. But you don't get that escape. You can feel it too strongly. You know it's not coincidence, because if it were, you wouldn't be shaking. You wouldn't be awake at night replaying the sound, the sight, the silence of it. Coincidence doesn't linger in your chest. Only destiny does. And destiny is selfish. It doesn't share its messages, doesn't spread its weight evenly. It singles out the ones it wants, hands them burdens disguised as arrivals, and forces them to either rise or collapse. That's why this arrival is meant for you. Because what you carry, what you've survived, what you've resisted, has carved you into someone who can bear the weight others cannot. The black car is proof, not of punishment, but of recognition. Proof that you've been noticed, that the universe has fixed its eyes on you and decided you can handle what others cannot. But here's where it cuts deepest. If it's meant for you, you can't pass it on. You can't throw it to someone else. Can't beg the crowd to take it in your place. No one else can bear this weight, because it wasn't meant for them. It's yours. And while that truth can crush the weak, it strengthens the chosen. Because when you know it's yours, you stop wasting time asking why. You stop doubting whether it's fair. You stop pretending it's nothing. Instead, you accept the brutal reality this is here. Because it was always going to be here, and it was always going to be yours. And that's the shock, isn't it? Not the car itself, not the color, not the silence. It's the realization that what arrives for you was written long before you even knew it was coming. That everything in your life, every loss, every scar, every fight, was preparing you for this one arrival. No one else can claim it. No one else can bear it. No one else can face it. What arrives for you is meant only for you. And deep down, you already knew that. That's why it terrifies you. And that's why you can't look away. There are moments when silence feels louder than any scream. When the air itself carries a weight you can't explain, and you know something is approaching. You don't see it yet, but your body knows. The hairs on your arms stand up, your stomach twists, your breath becomes uneven. That's not fear, it's recognition. The world is trying to tell you that the next step, the next scene, the next shadow has been written already, and it's heading toward you, whether you're ready or not. People call it coincidence when they're blind. They call it luck when they're scared. But you know better. You know nothing that heavy arrives by accident. And it's funny, isn't it, how people want answers, but run from the questions. They spend their days chasing comfort, chasing routine, chasing distractions, because they know deep down if they stop moving, if they stop pretending, They might hear the truth knocking at their door. Something meant only for them. Something that doesn't come with a manual, doesn't come with mercy, doesn't come with escape. It just comes. That's why they hide, bury themselves in noise. But the chosen don't get that luxury, because the chosen are haunted by what they can't ignore. You feel it in ways you can't explain to anyone else. The way shadows stretch longer for you, the way silence seems to carry whispers, the way every ordinary moment feels like a setup for something extraordinary. And while others laugh it off, while they mock or dismiss it, you know it's not a joke. You know the world doesn't invest this much weight in someone for nothing. Every strange sign, every pull, every arrival is a piece of a puzzle you didn't ask for but can't avoid. You are tied to it, chained to it, whether you like it or not. The cruel part is how it isolates you. No one else can feel what you feel. No one else can understand why this matters. They think you're paranoid, dramatic, delusional. But deep down, you know better. You know the universe doesn't waste its time on the unready, and that's why the signs come to you. That's why the arrival is yours. That's why the silence screams at you louder than any crowd. Because you're not just another face in the masses. You're the one marked. And being marked isn't pretty. It isn't glorious. It isn't the kind of thing you brag about or show off. It's heavy. It's sharp. It cuts into every part of your life, stripping away the illusions you once clung to. You can't lie to yourself anymore. Can't pretend you're average. Can't pretend life is meaningless. The moment the arrival happens, you're forced to confront the truth you've been dodging. You're chosen, and chosen means burdened. But there's a strange beauty in it too. Because while everyone else drifts, lost in their comfort and chaos, you carry something that matters. You've been given the kind of responsibility people spend their entire lives running from. That's why the signs don't leave you alone, why the silence feels so loud, why the weight doesn't ease. Because it isn't supposed to. You were carved for this moment, even if you never asked for it. People think destiny feels like fireworks, like celebration, like glory. But it doesn't. Destiny feels like dread. Destiny feels like standing at the edge of something you can't see the bottom of. Destiny feels like a car pulling up in the dark, like a message you can't ignore, like a presence that won't let you breathe until you acknowledge it. That's how you know it's real. Because it doesn't flatter you. It doesn't comfort you. It doesn't let you rest. It shakes you awake, whether you're ready or not. And when it happens, you don't get to step back. You don't get to hand it off. It isn't something you can share or dilute. It's yours. The weight, the fear, the clarity, the arrival. It was crafted for you and only you. That's the curse and the gift of it all. The world is telling you. With every whisper in the silence, with every twist in your gut, with every shadow that lingers too long, that you were meant to face what others never could. And whether you tremble or laugh, whether you fight or fall, the truth remains the same. This moment was always coming, and it was always coming for you. 15 minutes. That's all it takes to change everything. You waste hours every day chasing noise, distractions, illusions that vanish the second you touch them. But 15 minutes of listening, of focus, of opening your ears instead of running your mouth, that could shift your entire life. People don't like to listen, because listening means surrendering control. Listening means maybe you'll hear something that makes you uncomfortable, something that forces you to see the cracks in your perfect little story. But that's where the truth hides. In the words you don't want to hear, in the silence you're too restless to sit in. 15 minutes isn't much. It's shorter than the time you waste scrolling, shorter than the time you spend arguing, shorter than the time you spend lying to yourself. But in that brief window, if you actually pay attention, the world could look very different. 15 minutes. That's all it takes to either shift the direction of your life or waste it completely. People don't understand how much can happen in such a short span because they've trained themselves to think small, to dismiss the value of moments, to laugh at the idea that seconds could carry the weight of destiny. But think about it. In 15 minutes, a decision is made that changes families forever. In 15 minutes, someone signs a deal that alters the course of their life. In 15 minutes, a confession either saves a soul or destroys a relationship. And yet, when you're asked to sit down, to listen, to shut out the noise of the world for a quarter of an hour, suddenly it feels like torture, because silence scares you more than chaos ever could. Silence forces you to hear the truth that's been scratching at the walls of your skull. And most people would rather drown in distraction than let it in. The power of silence and listening isn't about sitting in a corner and pretending to meditate. No, it's about stripping away the illusions that keep you comfortable. When you stop talking, when you stop filling the space with noise, you start hearing the cracks in your own foundation. You notice the way your thoughts spiral, the way your fears whisper, the way your insecurities creep out from under the rug you've buried them beneath. And that's why people run. They're terrified of what silence has to say. But those who dare to stay, those who dare to actually listen instead of just hearing, they discover that the voice inside them was never an enemy. It was the map. The problem is, maps don't help unless you're willing to follow them. You see, most of you walk through life with your ears open, but your minds shut. You nod when people talk, but you don't absorb. You listen to advice, but you only filter it through the lens of what you want to hear. And that's why nothing changes. That's why years pass, and you're still stuck in the same place, recycling the same excuses. But when you truly listen, without trying to defend yourself, without plotting your next move, without shaping your response, you start to catch details the rest of the world misses. You start to recognize patterns, signals, warnings, and opportunities that everyone else walks past. It's not that life doesn't talk to them. It's that they're too loud to hear it. 15 minutes of silence can do more for you than years of talking. In that space, You begin to see how much energy you waste on pretending. Pretending you're fine, pretending you're strong, pretending you're in control. Listening strips that away, and suddenly you're confronted with the naked truth. You're fragile, you're hungry, you're restless. And that's where strength is born. Not in the mask, but in the cracks. People think listening is passive, weak, submissive. But tell me, who's stronger, the one who can scream the loudest, or the one who can sit in silence and hear every hidden scream around them? The truth is, silence is the sharpest weapon you'll ever hold. It cuts deeper than words, because words can be twisted, but silence forces revelation. Watch people squirm when you don't respond. Watch their truths leak out in the absence of noise. Silence unmasks people, and it unmasks you. That's why it's so unbearable for most. But that's also why it's priceless for those who are chosen to rise. So when I say 15 minutes, I don't mean scroll through your phone with the volume down. I don't mean sit there waiting for the clock to run out. I mean 15 minutes where you give yourself no escape, no distraction, no performance. Just you and the truth. It will claw at you. It will laugh at you. It will expose every little weakness you thought you buried. But it will also hand you the key you've been searching for. Because everything you're running toward, everything you're begging for, everything you think is missing, it's already been whispered to you 1,000 times. You just never stop to listen. The power isn't in the noise. It's never been in the noise. The noise is what blinds you, deafens you, drowns you. The power is in the pause, in the moments no one wants to endure, in the silence that forces you to face what you are and what you've become. Only a few will ever dare to listen long enough to find it. The rest will keep talking themselves in circles, running out of time, never realizing that the 15 minutes they refused to give could have rewritten their entire story. People are addicted to rushing, to filling every second with movement, with chatter, with meaningless little distractions that keep them from seeing the bigger game. They think speed equals progress, that being busy equals being alive. But they don't realize they're sprinting in circles, exhausting themselves in a race that never had a finish line. They want answers instantly, rewards instantly, peace instantly. And when it doesn't come on their schedule, they break, they scream, they quit. That's why patience is such a dangerous thing. It's not just about waiting. It's about controlling the hunger that eats at you while you wait. Most people lose to their hunger before the victory ever shows its face. Patience isn't standing still. It's standing strong. It's choosing not to shatter while the world tries to bend you. You want to know why most people never reach what was meant for them. Because they tap out before the miracle arrives. They confuse the silence before the storm with emptiness. And they run away right before the rain begins to fall. Patience is the bridge between the promise and the proof, and only a handful of people are willing to walk across it without turning back. You see, when nothing is happening, something is always happening. You just don't see it yet. Seeds grow roots before they ever break the soil. But impatient people dig them up because they can't stand waiting. And then they wonder why they never harvest anything but dust. People underestimate the weight of time. They think if it doesn't happen today, it won't happen at all. That's why they settle for less. That's why they grab whatever scraps are thrown their way, because they can't stomach the weight for what's truly theirs. But patience, real patience, isn't passive. It's active discipline. It's grinding while you wait, sharpening your blade while the world sleeps, preparing your soul for the moment the door finally opens. And when it does, you won't just walk through it. You'll storm through it, armed and ready, because you didn't waste the waiting season crying about how unfair life was. But here's the cruel joke. Patience will test you harder than any storm. It will whisper lies in your ear, telling you nothing's coming, nothing's changing, that you're wasting your life holding on to a hope that was never real. And that's when most collapse. Not because they were weak, but because they couldn't outlast their own doubts. The battlefield isn't outside, it's inside. Patience is war against the clock in your own mind, against the screams in your chest demanding immediate satisfaction. The few who can outwait the lies, who can outlast the hunger, they become unstoppable. Because if time itself couldn't break them, what else could? Impatience creates slaves. People sell their souls for shortcuts, for the illusion of quick success, and end up trapped in cages they built with their own desperation. But patience creates kings. It builds character forged in fire, discipline hardened in silence, resilience carved out by the weight of waiting. While the impatient run around chasing crumbs, the patient sit at the table that was being set for them the whole time. You want something big. You want something real. You think you're chosen for more. Then learn to wait without breaking. Because the test isn't in the prize. It's in the silence before it arrives. Patience is the greatest filter life has. It separates the pretenders from the chosen. Everyone says they're willing to do what it takes, until the hours drag into days, the days into years, and nothing seems to move. That's when the crowd disappears. That's when the chosen rise. Because patience isn't about time. It's about faith. Faith that the unseen is working for you. Faith that the roots are growing deep before the tree shows its face. Faith that your suffering isn't punishment, but preparation. And if you can hold on to that faith while the silence mocks you, while the waiting eats at you, while the world laughs at you for standing still, you'll have what they never will. The truth is, the waiting season isn't empty. It's where the transformation happens. It's where you're molded, broken, rebuilt, hardened, sharpened. The world will never respect patience because the world worships speed. But the world has always bowed to those who mastered time, not those who chased it. So when the silence stretches, when the hunger burns, when the doubts scream, remember patience isn't weakness. It's the quiet fire that separates the ones who talk about destiny from the ones who actually arrive at it. Truth is a slippery little thing, isn't it? People dress it up, twist it, bury it, drown it in noise, all because they're terrified of what it looks like naked. But here's the sick punchline. Truth doesn't hide from you. You hide from it. It's always there, humming beneath the surface, waiting for the one who dares to look it in the eye without flinching. You know why most never see it? Because truth doesn't arrive with a soft knock. It barges in like an unwelcome guest, tearing down the curtains you so carefully put up to protect your illusions. And when it does, you can't unsee it. That's the real terror. Discomfort is the mask truth wears. You think you want honesty, but the second it burns your skin, you run for the shadows. People claim they want clarity, but they crave comfort more. That's why lies sell better than truth. Why illusions are worshipped. Why distraction is the drug of the masses. The truth isn't a lullaby, it's a scream. And only a few can stomach it long enough to hear what it's really saying. They'll squirm, they'll resist. They'll try to stitch the world back together with their fantasy threads, but reality doesn't bend to feelings. It just waits until the fragile, little lies crack open, spilling the blood of what you didn't want to face. The irony is, the very thing you run from is the very thing that could set you free. But people don't want freedom if it comes with scars. They want freedom wrapped in ribbons, soft and painless. That's why the truth stays hidden in plain sight, because most are blind on purpose. They'd rather carry the weight of denial than the sting of revelation. It's easier to drown in a dream than choke on reality. That's the curse of humanity. Choosing lies that soothe instead of truths that cut. And yet the chosen ones, the rare ones, they know that pain is the doorway. They don't flinch when it stabs. They lean into it, because they understand that the wound is where the healing begins. You ever notice how the truth doesn't whisper? It echoes. It follows you into bed. It laughs at you in the mirror. It seeps into every quiet corner of your life, daring you to acknowledge it. You can ignore it for a while. Sure, bury it under distractions, drown it in noise, pretend it doesn't exist. But the truth is patient. It rots your comfort from the inside until you can't ignore the smell anymore. And when it finally breaks through, it doesn't come with mercy. It rips apart everything you thought was safe, because only by destroying the lie can it make room for what's real. And here's the real kicker. Truth doesn't care about your timing. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't ask for your permission. It comes when it comes, and it never apologizes for the chaos it brings. That's why it feels like betrayal when it lands. It wasn't the world lying to you. It was you lying to yourself. The truth just turned on the lights. And if that burns your eyes, maybe it's because you've been too comfortable living in the dark. But once you see it, really see it, there's no going back. The world doesn't look the same. The people around you don't sound the same. Even the voice in your head changes tone. That's why so few can handle it. They'd rather stay blind, because sight is responsibility. Once you see the truth, you can't keep playing the fool. You either rise to meet it or crumble under the weight of knowing. There's no middle ground. And that's the beauty and the horror of it. Truth strips you bare, then asks, "Now what are you going to do with this?" People think discomfort is the enemy, but it's the invitation. The fire that burns you is the same fire that forges you. The sting of truth isn't punishment. It's proof you're alive, proof you're being refined. The weak avoid it, but the chosen endure it because they know the only way out is through. The ones who dare to stand in the discomfort, who don't run from the cuts and bruises of reality, they walk out sharper, clearer, unstoppable. Because once you've made peace with the discomfort of truth, no lie, no illusion, no distraction can ever chain you again. Distractions are the sweetest poison served to the masses, dressed up in flashing lights, buzzing screens, endless chatter that feels important but is emptier than smoke. People think they're living because their calendars are full, their feeds are crowded, their days are noisy, but it's all a trick. A trick to keep them blind to the one thing that actually matters. Focus. The world doesn't have to chain you if it can distract you. Why lock you in a cage when it can keep you entertained enough to never notice you're already trapped? Every second you hand over to distraction, you bleed power. Think about it. Your mind is the sharpest weapon you'll ever own, but in the wrong hands, it dulls into uselessness. They know this. That's why everything around you screams for your attention. Notifications, headlines, gossip, pointless arguments. They're not accidents, they're nets. Nets designed to catch you, hold you, waste you. And the cruelest part, you tie yourself up in them willingly, laughing while you do it, thinking you're in control. But no one who's controlled by distraction has control of anything. Focus is rare because it's hard. It requires cutting through the noise, ripping away from comfort, choosing to see the bigger picture when everyone else is hypnotized by the glitter. But those who master it, they move differently. They see the angles no one else notices. They hear the whispers buried beneath the shouts. Focus isn't glamorous, it's gritty. It's the discipline to say no 1,000 times a day, to protect your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. Without focus, you're nothing but a puppet dancing to someone else's rhythm. With focus, you're untouchable, because you can't be baited by the circus. But here's the catch. Distractions aren't always ugly. They're often dressed up as opportunities, friendships, even obligations. They trick you by wearing masks of importance. This can't wait. You'll miss out. Everyone else is doing it. That's the bait. And people swallow it whole, never realizing they've traded purpose for business. Ask yourself, how many of your days are filled with noise disguised as necessity? How many hours have you given to things that never gave anything back? That's the robbery of distraction. It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your life, piece by piece, so slowly you don't notice until it's gone. And when you're distracted, you're predictable. Predictability is weakness, because it makes you easy to control. They know where your eyes will go, where your thoughts will wander. where your emotions will flare. They lead you around with crumbs, and you think you're making choices, but you're not. You're following the leash. Focus cuts the leash. It takes discipline to say, not this, not now. To pull your gaze away from what everyone else is hypnotized by and aim it at what actually matters. That's why so few are chosen, because so few can resist the sweet poison long enough to see clearly. Distractions breed weakness, but focus breeds power. It sharpens your instincts, fuels your strength, magnifies your time. Focus isn't about staring at one thing forever. It's about knowing where not to look. It's about protecting your energy like it's gold, because it is. People waste themselves in 1,000 directions, then wonder why they feel empty. But those who master focus, they pour all their energy into what matters, and that's why they bend reality in their favor. The world bends to those who aren't distracted by it. But the tragedy is, most people won't even try. They're too addicted to the noise, too afraid of silence, too weak to face what would happen if they unplugged from the circus. Because silence forces you to face yourself, and that terrifies them more than anything else. So they stay distracted, forever chasing shadows, while the chosen carve their path in the quiet. That's the difference. The distracted are consumed, but the focused consume. And once you've tasted that kind of clarity, the world can throw all the flashing lights, all the noise, all the illusions at once. You won't flinch, because you'll know the trick, and you'll be too sharp to fall for it again. Control. That's the word people choke on without even realizing it. They think they're in charge of their lives because they make choices, because they pick their meals, their clothes, their jobs, their friends. But control isn't about the little things. It's about the unseen forces that steer you when you're not paying attention. The truth is, most people are puppets dancing on strings pulled by fear, by hunger, by desire, by distraction. They mistake reaction for control, when in reality they're nothing more than mirrors, reflecting what the world throws at them. That's not power. That's slavery dressed up as freedom. Real control isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet, cold, and absolute. It's the ability to stand still when everything around you screams for movement. It's the strength to hold your tongue when your emotions beg you to explode. It's the patience to wait when the world mocks you for not rushing. That's why so few have it. Because it doesn't look like power to the blind. They think control is domination, stomping louder than everyone else, barking orders. But that's just theater. Real control is invisible, and it terrifies people. Because you can't predict someone who isn't enslaved by their impulses. You ever notice how easy it is to manipulate the average person? Dangle a little fear in front of them, and they crumble. Flash a little pleasure, and they salivate. Whisper a little lie, and they'll build their lives around it. That's not strength. That's weakness hiding in plain sight. The one who has control isn't the one chasing, but the one who can't be baited. The one who doesn't need the carrot or fear the stick. That's the one you can't bend. That's the one who breaks the system instead of being broken by it. And here's the funny part. People give up their control willingly. They hand it over piece by piece, just to avoid the discomfort of discipline. They'd rather be told what to think, what to buy, what to chase, than carry the weight of deciding for themselves. They call it convenience, but it's really surrender. They trade power for ease, clarity for comfort, freedom for chains dressed in velvet. And then they wonder why they feel empty, why they feel powerless, why they feel trapped. Because they sold the only thing that could have freed them their control. Real control is mastery over the self, not others. If you can't control your hunger, your rage, your doubt, your greed, then you're nothing but a slave. You'll be yanked around by anyone clever enough to press your buttons. And trust me, the world is full of button pushers. But when you master yourself, when you cut those strings, you become untouchable. You don't flinch when threatened. You don't drool when tempted. You don't break when mocked. You move when you choose, not when the world demands it. That's real power, the kind that can't be seen, but is felt in every room you walk into. But mastery has a price. It demands sacrifice. You'll lose friends who need you to be weak. You'll lose comforts that used to numb you. You'll lose illusions that used to soothe you. That's why so few take this path. They'd rather keep their fake comforts than pay for real control. They're terrified of discipline, terrified of silence, terrified of their own reflection when the noise fades. But the chosen ones, they understand that pain is the price of freedom and discipline is the price of power. They're willing to pay it. That's why they rise while the rest crawl. The cruel reality is this. If you don't control yourself, someone else will. If you don't master your impulses will master you. And when they do, you'll belong to anyone who knows how to feed them. That's why the masses stay predictable, why they stay weak, why they stay chained. But the rare ones, the chosen ones, they claw their way out. They take control back piece by piece, cut by cut, until there are no strings left to pull. And once you taste that kind of freedom, once you realize nothing owns you anymore, not fear, not hunger, not desire, you become dangerous. Because nothing is more terrifying to a world built on control than someone it can't control.